So, I was standing in the middle of a consultation room in Scottsdale, Arizona, naked from the waist up, staring at my breasts in the mirror. Perfectly round orbs of flesh, they sat on my chest like armor. The thing is, I already had implants, and for the last 10 years, I had thought they were pretty great ones. Sure, they looked fake, but having them meant that no matter how little I was wearing, I was never really naked. I've seen a lot of tits. Once I started telling girls I was thinking about a boob job, they started springing out at me. You can, touch them, Maria, the cocktail waitress, or Tiffany, the dancer, would say. Go ahead, feel how soft they are. And then she would gesture at Cinnamon, the shooter girl, or Grace, the bartender. Now feel hers and tell me which ones you like better. Looking for better? That's what I was doing in the consultation room. Look, do what you want, my boyfriend had said when I brought it up. Just remember, the opposite of good is not necessarily better. I don't get it, I told him. My natural boobs had been fine, good even. Pale ski slopes leading to strawberry-colored nipples of perfectly ordinary proportions. They wouldn't do. I was raised on tits. I didn't come from a family that talked about how smart women were, but how sexy and how nuts. My stepbrothers were in high school when my mom and I moved in 1981. I was 7 years old, and suddenly I was watching Cheech and Chong movies. I knew Dolly Parton and Lonnie Anderson and Fancy Bates before I was 10. Big-breasted blondes who looked just like my new dad's first wife. I was surprised to find out that women like her were real. She was so different from my practical mother with her kinky curls and culottes and coupons. The normal one, my stepdad called her. He said his first wife was crazy. She drank too much, danced on tables, called all day and night. What kind of woman leaves her children? I didn't know, but I was pretty sure I wanted to be one. My stepbrothers said that it was okay for a girl to be nuts as long as she was hot. Breast implant placement 101, it said on the cover of the New Beauty magazine, sitting on the consultation room table. Get the breasts you ultimately desire. Boob jobs come one of two ways, over the pectoral muscle or under it. What I had was over the muscle, very round, very obvious bolt-ons that had required minimal recovery time. What I wanted was under. It meant a much more traumatic surgery, but the result would be a more natural-looking, gentler slope to my double Ds. I thought I could handle the pain, but I was having a hard time finding a surgeon willing to swap my overs for unders, something about uncertain results. The surgeon before this one had even flicked my nipple and snorted, "This is what happens when you get breasts in Canada." Well, hello there, Dr. Bishop said, opening the door. What can I do for you today? I want my breasts redone, I told him. They look pretty good to me, he said. I knew a guy who knew a girl who said she let Dr. Bishop do a bump of cocaine off her brand new boob, but that didn't make him a bad doctor. Yeah, they're okay, I said, leaning forward from the waist, but see here, and I pointed to the inside curve of my left breast. When I do this, can you see how it ripples? I see it, he said. Well, you know how Pamela Anderson's boobs used to be, but now they're not? You can't see the implant anymore, but they're obviously still there. Dr. Bishop, I said, I think we need to go deeper. He stared at my chest for a minute and pulled out a Sharpie from his pocket. I think I know what you want, he said. What I wanted was tits. I wanted tits because my nose was too big and my teeth were too small and my hair was too thin. I wanted tits because by the time I made it to college, I'd been on Accutane 5 times. Right. I needed tits. Once when I was 16, standing in the kitchen of my stepbrother's house with a shiny face and smelling like onion after a day clearing tables at the Holiday Inn, I'd heard that his mother had called me and my mother homely, and I knew it was true. I waitressed 4 nights a week while I was away at university. I'd get home at 3 in the morning and stuff all of that cash into a Sesame Street cookie jar. I found my first plastic surgeon in the Yellow Pages. His operating room just down the street from my student apartment. I used half of my school loans and all of my tips. That doctor had said, "I'm sure you'll probably be fine by the weekend." And he was right. I was at the mall trying on bras for my boyfriend by Friday afternoon. A few months later, and I was back in his office, telling him that while my new breasts were great, they just weren't big enough. Coming to in Dr. Bishop's recovery room felt like being crushed in a giant fist. Dr. Bishop had torn his way through my pecs, pulled the meat away from the bone, and shoved the implants into the space he'd created. "The muscles in your chest wall are surprisingly thick," he said. "Must be all that time you spent in the gym." He wrapped me in a tensor bandage so tightly and told me not to look. At home, I ate too many Vicodin. Dry heaving with my head in the toilet, I was terrified that one of my ribs would pierce a lung. My whole body felt too tight. There couldn't possibly be enough room inside me for all of this. Later, lying in the fetal position on the bathroom floor, I told myself how it would all be worth it. Think about how great your new boobs will be, how much smaller they'll make your waist look, and your nose, no one will look at your nose. I thought about how I'd show them to the girls in the bathroom at Access Radius or the Pussycat Lounge, let them feel me up. I would nod modestly when they said, "Oh my God, they're like so soft." "Yes," I'd say, "I know, they're pretty amazing." It was almost 2 weeks before I could see them myself. My friend Laura had stolen a rubber glove and blown it into a balloon while we waited in Dr. Bishop's office. We batted it back and forth between us. "I'm nervous," I told her. Laura used to be a model, and she still has some of the best tits I have ever seen. The kind you have to stop yourself from grabbing a handful of. "So, today's the day," Dr. Bishop said, "the big reveal," throwing open the door and rolling a stool to sit between my legs. Laura stood behind him, looking over his shoulder, batting the bloated rubber glove, smiling at me like, "Yay!" I lifted my arm slightly, allowing myself to be unwrapped. I watched Laura's face as the bandages came off, how her smile changed. I saw her head tilt to one side as the glove balloon dropped to the floor. "Are they supposed to look like that?" Laura said, taking a step back. "Well," Dr. Bishop said. "What do you mean, well?" I said. "Is there something wrong?" I couldn't tell from up here. I pushed past him into the consultation room. "What the fuck, Dr. Bishop?" The new implants sat so high on my chest that I could almost touch them with my chin. Underneath each hard, molded shelf, a deflated breast swung like an empty sack. "How did this happen?" I asked as I leaned forward, swatting at the sagging flesh. "It looks like I have 4 tits." "It looks like an ass," Laura said. "Like you have an ass on your chest." "Why are you not freaking out?" I asked the doctor, wanting to grab him by his face. "Well, there's no need to panic just yet. With manual massage, they'll probably soften up, drop a little." "But what if that doesn't work?" I said. "We'll have to operate again." "But what am I supposed to do until then?" "Hide," Laura said, shaking her head. A year later, and she was watching me adjust my bikini top by the pool. "They look great now," she said. I had, in fact, needed another surgery. "Yeah," I said, staring at her from behind the dark of my sunglasses. Sometimes when I hug Laura, I hang on for an extra beat to feel her tits melt against mine. The truth is, those were the tits I wanted, the ones I thought I deserved. The problem is, hers are real. "It's probably nothing," Laura said when I found the lump in my left breast. "Just a cyst." I nodded my head on the other side of the phone. "If they call you right away," and she was interrupted by the beep of my call waiting, "that means you should worry." Driving down the 163 through Balboa Park. That's where I was when I found out I had breast cancer. At my Thursday morning women's meeting, the secretary once asked me if it was because of the implants, the cancer. I told her what Dr. Mercy told me at Cedars, that the implants had forced the tumor closer to the surface of the tissue, probably the reason I had noticed it at all. All that manual massage I was still doing made the hard marble of cancer under my thumb impossible to miss. I knew these suckers would save my life, I'd yelled in the exam room. Because they had saved me somehow. I went out into the world instead of retreating from it like so many women I knew. I left. I left my hometown, I left my country, I left the men who couldn't make me happy, and a life I didn't want. Going bigger might have kept me small in some ways, but it also kept me from shriveling up altogether. Somehow, I managed. I made it to Los Angeles. I'm standing in this room telling all of you this story, admitting that maybe I didn't do good things, but I did survival things. The opposite of good isn't always better. Maybe I get that now. Thank
you. First time on the VAMP stage, Amanda Fletcher.